industry on our younger, lot of women who we want to be there in the industry, because there is a great need, to have a gender balance and to have opportunities for all, and not just for the men. It should be for all. Why not for women then? So that's with that thought, I
Poonam.
would like to start. Yeah, sorry.
No, I was saying absolutely, Poonam. You said it so
Yeah,
rightly. We want to make sure that the opportunity is for all. And
yes.
to that end, we are all very excited about this annual event at Winpe, where we try to reach out to women in early years of their career and try to discuss with them what an opportunity to have a career in investing could look like, and why it could be something for them to consider. So thank you for being
That's
here.
right.
And Anshul, thank you for doing this. I think between the two of you, we will have two very important aspects covered. So Poonam, you can cover the institutional aspect in terms of what career could look like if you join a large investing institution. And Anshul could talk more about the entrepreneurial side, where you joined a fund manager, a much smaller team, and how a career path from there could progress. And, what is it that the industry looks like? What is the longevity of this particular industry? I mean, are we all bullish on private equity and venture capital? Is it going to stay here for a long time? Um, you know, say 10, 15, 20 years down the line, how can these young women look at themselves? So thank you, Poonam. Thank you, Anshul. We are very excited. And if I can just request Debrati from Winpe to introduce you and set a few housekeeping rules, set the context. So thank you once again. Thank you to all our participants. We are always delighted to be able to bring resources, information, and senior women for your benefit. So please make the most of the session today. Ask as many questions as you want in the chat.
Okay. So thank you so much, Nupur. At the onset, I would like to just set up some housekeeping rules before going forward. So may I please request everyone to display the name that you used for registration, even if you're using somebody else's device. If you are unable to change the admin name, kindly reach out to us through a direct message, and we will make that change for you. Please mute yourself during the session. And also you can send in your questions anytime through the session, and we will surely take it up during the Q&A session. So with this, we will kickstart the event. I am Devriti. I lead stakeholder engagement at Winpe. Today, we are here to explore the exciting world of PEVC and discuss why it's a compelling career, as already shared by Nupur. So without much ado, let's embark on this enlightening journey through the world of PEVC together. So we have Ms. Poonam Puri as a first presenter. Poonam Puri is a seasoned HR advisor focusing on the Asia Pacific region. Currently serving as the HR advisor Asia Pacific at CDPQ, she brings extensive experience and a strategic mindset to her role. She excels in talent management, developing and implementing HR strategies that drive success and foster high performance and engagement. She actively promotes diversity and inclusion through her involvement with Talentnomics India. Poonam, over to you.
Hi, everyone. Welcome once again. And I'm very happy to start with my session. So I would like to introduce first of all, myself and my firm, how we are placed globally, and what value of a firm like us adds to a career of a women, and how one can evolve and grow within, right? So just to start with the introduction, as Diksha, we are so used to calling Diksha as Devriti rightly introduced. I'm a big supporter of diversity, equity, and inclusion, and also managing HR in CDPQ, which is the second largest Canadian pension fund for last 7 years. And how we have seen, from 7 years to now, the placement of women, the need of women, the value they add to the business is actually, even in 7 years, I would say it's turned, almost 360 degrees. I have seen that change, so I'm sharing with you. So CDPQ is a fund which is based in Quebec. Coming back to the introduction of my organization, and we invest the money of Quebec pensioners in Quebec, as well as in Canada, as well as other emerging markets. So quickly would share a few slides, and then I would talk about the importance of in career in investment, and why and how and where it would take you to. And then Anshu will cover a larger part, which is out of my domain from being in HR. She'll talk more about, the technicalities and the longevity and the impact and long-term impact, and, how you can work for 22-3 decades in this industry without any repercussions or without any regrets, I would say. So I'm just sharing my screen with you. Can you allow me to share the screen, Devrati?
Sure. Just give me a moment.
Poonam, it's done. You can share the screen now.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you can.
Okay, so just to tell you about CDPQ, we have a strong presence in Quebec and across the globe. Have about Canadian CAD 78 billion assets, including 60 billion CAD worth in the private sector, and Canadian dollar 10 billion in private sector in last 1 year. How we have grown, so we really have been growing exponentially, and we invest the money of our pensioners, who are the retired people in Quebec, in all the markets, and grow the money and give it back to our depositors and pensioners. That's our mandate. This is how we have grown in the last few decades. Started in 65 when it was created. It's a Canadian Quebec government organization, so fully backed by government. A very, very large institution in terms of AUM. We have about 402 CAD billion AUM, which is like as huge as accumulating all the FIs of a country, like even like India. So this is how we have grown in terms of how we shifted focus, had a diverse portfolio, and long-term deals, globalization and real assets. Then in 2017, we got a very important aspect of stewardship and investing, and then all the ESG and DEI as a part of ESG followed, and how now we are evolving with lots of programs in diversity, equity, and inclusion, not just to retain the talent, but to sustain them, to sustain the economy, to sustain the women of the country, not just the organization, by helping small businesses, giving them targets to have women at some particular level. So that's how we are creating the overall impact. We have very important priorities, which is climate change. Even the last man standing or responsible for the business is liable to, answer questions on carbon intensity on a portfolio, on a deal. So climate change is a very, very important aspect. Equity, diversity, and inclusion. As I just said, we are helping small funds for helping them grow as a diverse organization. We have team senior executives and board of directors at women at all levels. We are trying to be there, still not there fully, but at least trying our best to, have the opportunity of hiring every position with women, so that we create that balance. Governance is our third priority, which is responsible practices like ESG analysis, cybersecurity, and taxation, which is we work in many countries, so taxation creating permanent establishments, keeping in mind the taxation in mind is very important for us.
Hello.
So we believe in capital that creates value
हाँ
and
हाँ जाने का ना
opportunities.
4 बजे
Can you mute yourself, someone? Okay. As I said, we have 402 billion CAD worth assets with over 1450 employees. We are in, as you see, spread in the entire globe, headed in Montreal to, Europe, London, Latin America, USA, then uh, India, China, Singapore, Sydney. So have 48 plus depositors and pensioners, and uh, our our uh, our exposure portfolio exposure is in Canada of 25%. As you see, in APAC we have 12%, growing really well. It's just 7 years in the region, so um, we have a diverse portfolio. We have 5 asset classes: fixed income, private equity, funds, infrastructure, real estate. This is how we work on our dual mandate to get money of pensioners through depositors, 48 depositors of who have pension and insurance plans. They get money to us, and our investment experts invest this money in 70 countries, generate returns and benefit the depositors and pensioners. It's a very responsible business. We hold ourselves responsible for each and every penny because this is a hard-earned money of the pensioners. Um, then our structures are, this is how the structure works: the CEO and chairman, then followed by all the teams. I think you would see more of it on our website and understand how the structure works. We have asset class heads. Okay, so then I'll stop here and talk about more on our diversity, equity, and inclusion, and how funds work. In firms like us, how you feel that it's a great opportunity for you to think about finance and investment as a career. And so these days with the DEI framework, the organizations are not only hiring women but also doing a lot to give them the environment and flexibility to grow, sustain and grow, and also work at their highest potential. So, as we know, investment sector has always been male dominated, but with the lens of diversity, with the focus shifted on creating gender balance and creating equity, inclusion, we need to have a balanced workforce. We feel that women add greater value given their equal education, competence, business acumen, and a lot of creativity, innovation, which I feel being in HR is really higher than men. Just that historically this industry has been managed by men has really created the notion that only men can handle it. It's not like that. Women like you who are so competent, who are studying hard, who've been raised like really like men, boys. So why we should not think about building our career in this industry? And with changing times, even organizations feel that it's time to really shift the focus. The key agenda for the boardrooms, for important meetings, is diversity and inclusion. So we should also, as competent students or early women in finance industry, or who are thinking about getting into this, need to break that notion, that glass ceiling, and get into opportunities which are available. And now there is a need of women, and there is also a need from the side of the employees, the workforce, who want to get into a challenging environment. We don't want to just do a 9 to 5 because we are so talented, we are so much above than what we think we are. We don't realize our potential, but we are really, we can explode things. We can do so much better if we are in the right environment, if we have the right opportunities, if we have the, empowering leadership. So that all is getting there on the employer side. So why not on the workforce side? There is a, thing that, okay, I have to get into this and really challenge myself when there is a real opportunity. So we feel that there is a lot of talent like you which needs to be tapped. So gender differences in, in investment, uh, really we feel that women can add so much value. Their perspective, their thought process, their creativity, innovation can enhance long-term investing success. What much more than what the world thinks about it. And I'm sure it is changing, but still, you guys have to come forward, get into this, prove yourself, and get the world moving into the right direction. Simply put, diverse teams are better positioned to help investor realize their goals, their uh, how how they can, do well, grow themselves. So I'm not just talking about the investing world and you should come and join. I'm also talking about your side of the story. When you get into it, what all can you do? So nowadays organizations are working on sustaining women than only hiring them. They're having good policies, like my firm has very good policies around women, their development, their mentorship, their coaching, giving them equal pay, right opportunities at right time, at par with men, giving them all the flexibility when it comes to travel, when it comes to, hearing children getting into motherhood, coming back, and so on and so forth. So we are also giving opportunities for to women to on the mid senior level, so that our top is also equally balanced, and we get women there also, to make a difference that we would like our organization to be. Um, you know, as women, we are the creator, inventor, who are so pro in generating capital. We do house, I'm in my early 40s, I do so much at my home to get things, put them in the right order. How can I not do that in my workplace? So that's how I add value, by creating that impact when it comes to finances, when it comes to managing expenses of the office. I'm just talking about a normal budgeting thing which admin and HR does, but at your level, you are in investment. Imagine the kind of impact you're creating to geographies, industries, economies, sectors. Such big challenges, such big opportunities for you to really, come out as your best. You know, in investment, you get the right opportunity to build your network. You deal with global entities, bankers, law firms, government regulatories. Um, those who you are, who all of you are very good at speaking, creating a network can add so much value to it, and and grow the business so well. So why not? There is no limit to what all can you just do by getting into it, and working on transactions, asset management. uh, right, when you start, you do simple jobs like modeling. It's not simple, by the way, you need to learn modeling, but you really creates models for deals. You deal with all your heads with the ecosystem of investing, like bankers, consultants, law firms, government. So you learn about how the business, how the deal is made. And then when you are growing, you're coaching your younger lot on how the deals are made. so much value addition, such a great task to influence the whole ecosystem by just your presence. So imagine what all can you do when you are in investment, then being just in wealth management or I'm not talking and demeaning other business, other functions, but I'm talking more of your impact that you create when you are in investment. So I live here. I talk as HR. Nupur, I don't know how much does it mean to you guys because you're from hardcore investment world, but this is how I feel that how women, can come in, break the glass ceiling, prove themselves, get into a challenging environment which is welcoming them now. It's changed. So, and it is changing, it is evolving. So, a huge task for us to do to get them to the right direction.
Thank you, Poonam. And I mean, honestly, your perspective is extremely valuable. I don't think we can say that the HR perspective does not help because in large organizations, HR is a very important part of talent management. And when it comes to how the organization is looking at hiring practices, retention practices, promotion practices, HR plays a very important, HR, I think, brings a very important voice to the discussion in terms of advocating for talent, in terms of advocating for diversity. And who better place than somebody like you to talk about how large organizations are thinking about these very important matters. So thank you so much, Poonam.
Thank you, Nupur. Thank you, everyone. I'll take a pause and hand it over to Anshul.
Yeah, so Devrati, are we
Yeah.
doing Q&A together at the end?
Yes, I think that's the plan. So we will just, let Anshul present and then we can take it up from there. So, okay. Thank you so much, Poonam. That was really, really insightful. Now I would like to invite Anshul Jain, Managing Director, Lighthouse Advisors. So Anshul is the co-head of investments at Lighthouse Funds. Prior to joining Lighthouse, Anshul has worked as an investment banker, advising clients on IPO, M&A, and PE fundraising at ICICI Securities and ABN AMRO. Anshul holds a master's degree in business administration from IIM Indore. Anshul, the floor is all yours.
Thank you so much, Debrati. Thank you, Nupur and Winpe team for providing this platform for Lighthouse to talk about, private equity industry in general, and then role women have played in our organization as well as in industry in general. And Poonam, thank you so much for a very insightful preamble that you put to this conversation. What I'm going to do is first I will talk about Lighthouse as a fund, give the introduction of who we are, what we are doing. And then I will touch upon a little bit in terms of why private equity industry, what is it that from an industry perspective is attractive, right? Both on the work side as well as the path women can see, starting in younger days as you move up the ladder. And then I would love to keep it interactive and, you all bring in questions and we would love to answer them, Poonam, and I would love to answer that. So I would just share the screen for introducing Lighthouse. Okay, is this visible, Debrati?
Yes, Anshul, it's visible.
Okay, perfect. I'm just gonna make it full screen. Okay, perfect. Lighthouse has been operating in India for almost 15 years now. And in that period, we have done about 29 investments. Our focus is largely on consumption and healthcare, and then digital transformation and specialty manufacturing are two other themes that cut across both the sectors that we are focusing on. Historically, we have backed a lot of family-oriented businesses, and there is a special skill needed when you back family-owned businesses. I will touch upon that very briefly. But look, we have specialized in terms of backing those businesses. These are, because we are a private equity fund, we have backed businesses that have their economic model set and they are generating cash flows. They have a certain economic profile to them. These are some of the examples of the companies we have backed. So Bikaji Foods, which is India's #2 ethnic snacks brand, they are based in Bikaner. We backed this business about 8 years ago. Last year, the company went IPO and they are almost at $1.2 billion of valuation now. Nykaa, we were the first foreign institutional check in this business back in 2018, when it was still early days in terms of the boom that tech companies saw in their funding. Again, this business was less than $100 million when we backed them. And what a fabulous entrepreneur Falguni is. Again, I'm very proud of the fact that one of the finest women entrepreneur in Indian ecosystem was backed by Lighthouse. Duroflex is a mattress brand, again, mix of old age and new age business. And then we have many other examples in the consumer and healthcare space. This is just to give you a flavor of kind of investments we have done in our 15-year journey. I will straight come to the team. So this firm was co-founded by Mukund, Sean, and Sachin 15 years ago. And then Rochelle, me, and Tarun, we joined as professionals and have grown through the ranks. So again, very proud of the fact that 1/3 of partnership today at Lighthouse is women, and all the new investments that we do as an organization is actually led by Rochelle and me. These are the operating partners that we have. And when I talk about, what is the kind of work that we do in private equity, I will bring in examples of our operating partners as well. But these are stalwarts from the industry who have a lot of strategic experience, have spent a few decades in large organizations like Nike, Unilever, Coty, P&G across the world. Yeah, so I think this is pretty much us. Let me just, okay, has the screen stopped sharing now?
Yes, yes.
Okay, great. So look, this is who we are, and just briefly talking about, because this is, this is an organization where talent through the ranks have grown, and we have seen organically, that diversity has come about. So just to give you some statistics, I already mentioned in the partnership, we have 33% women representation, but as an organization, whether you look at fundraise as a function, you look at finance as a function, or you look at investment team, across all of these profiles, we would have more than 45% women representation. And look, this is something which is where we have put in effort, but also I'm very proud of what each and every member of our team brings to the table when we are all sitting across, and the thought process they have shown and the kind of growth they have shown, right? So that's a little bit about us. Why don't I zoom out a little and tell you in terms of my own journey and bring in private equity industry there. I started my career almost 19 years ago. After my MBA, I came in financial services, first as an investment banker. There, of course, it started with doing the junior most role in terms of associate, learning what the grind is, and learning in terms of the basics. Of course, you learn in the college, but you're putting it all to implementation. That was fabulous. It was all upon me in terms of how much can I take. My bosses were very supportive. The work is very exciting, but it was also upon me in terms of how much learning I want to do in what sort of time period, and that curiosity has remained throughout. I still feel as much curious today, after having gone through the journey of 19 years. And we can go into details of that if you all are interested, but that is one aspect that I have seen has helped me as I have come up the curve. After first 13 years as a banker, in terms of first helping the organizations in terms of execution, then leading the role I was in terms of getting business for my organization as an investment banker. And then I moved to private equity about 6.5, 7 years ago, where the work is very, very different. So I think this is a good time to segue in what private equity brings on table, right? What is private equity industry? I think private equity industry, simply put, where you have somebody else's money, you get to manage that as an asset manager, and then there are returns to be made over a very long time. Typically 8 to 10 years is the fund life that you invest with. So very long term patient capital, and at the end of that period there is a return expectation that is there, right? So effectively you are working initially to make the investment, and then for investment to actually give you that return. In that process, what happens is that you have a very unique blend of finance coming in, because you have to make the investment at the right value to be able to make return, but you also have to get into the grind in terms of operations of the business, so that in business where it is very normal to have ups and downs, you are able to bring in your perspective, and you are able to help the company go through the cycles. 8 to 10 years is a very long time, right? So in this business, that is one unique opportunity you get, that it's not just getting in and getting out. You are getting in with full accountability of saying that, look, I can make a difference in terms of operations of business as well. And that's a great learning opportunity as young professionals, because you are, communicating with very diverse networks. So when you are talking about the investment per se, you communicate with lawyers, bankers, you communicate with the market where, let's say we are in consumer industry, but if somebody is selling in hospitals, for example, or if it's a B2B customer, you are interacting with varied networks, right? So that helps you develop a skill and a very strong business understanding in the beginning itself. As you move forward, the companies, like life in general, I think businesses go through the cycles. And if you see, across countries, it's not just India in particular, but across countries have gone through their own up and downs, and that reflects in independent business entities as well, which means that let's say at some point in time for companies, marketing and branding is the priority. At some point in time, building the infrastructure, which is, the manufacturing facility I would have at the back end, is the priority. At some point in time, I want to expand overseas, I want to export. So, which markets should I get into? These are just some of the examples of helping the businesses think through the areas of growth. Right. And as an investor, the entrepreneurs do look up to us to add value in each of these areas. Right. So I think as one has made the investment and you are in the cycle of value creation, the learning and the variety of learning continues, which is, again, a very exciting part of private equity, I feel. The other thing I would add is you learn from the best. What do I mean by that? Typically in these organizations, you have very diverse set of board members, which means that some board members bring in HR perspective, some would bring in, finance perspective, some would bring in marketing perspective. And these are stalwarts in the industry who would be at the board level, right? They are adding value to the company. And as a young professional, because you are representing the investor, you get to sit through a lot of these very strategic conversations. So very early on, you have an opportunity to actually be very detailed and yet, see business from 30,000 feet and see business not just for this year, but see in terms of how the decade ahead lies for them, right? You break it down in terms of short-term objectives and long-term objectives. So this is the balance which I think this industry offers. While you are not in driving seat, right? You are not the entrepreneur. Actually, entrepreneur is in the driving seat, but still you get an opportunity to be able to learn from truly the best. Also, so these are all outward facing, right? When I come more internal facing, what is it that as a team, we in business do every day? We look at industries in whatever mandate the fund would have, right? So if some fund have sector mandate, then you look at those sectors, but you also want to broaden the horizon and say what is happening in the world. You don't want to miss out on industry of future, right? So when e-commerce was picking up in China and US in a big way, and India was still early in the journey, we put in a lot of effort in terms of understanding why are businesses in that channel succeeding in those countries. So to that extent, there is a lot of learning for today but in terms of futuristic thinking also, right? Which again, I think is a very unique perspective, which this industry only offers. I think all of this put together broadens your horizon. I feel like nobody else does, or no other industry sort of offers. And I have been on the financial side, yet managing portfolios and managing, interacting with entrepreneurs and the board has helped in terms of widening the perspective so much that I feel ultimately just boils down to the kind of thought process you develop, right? And I think this is one industry which encourages everyone to bring their unique perspective on table, because we don't want to be missing out, in terms of what's going to happen, right? You want to identify trends of future, invest in them, so you can make that alpha as a return, right? So it's selfishly that, but look, everybody brings in that unique perspective so that it blends out and say where we should be investing. And look, I think as an industry, men and women, this industry promotes a lot of independence of thought. I have seen this in my journey, and truly independence of thought is something which is valued very highly. So, that's again an opportunity which this industry provides. I'm happy to take a pause, or I can go in terms of just career path and close out the conversation. Is that okay, Debbrati? Okay. So look, in terms of career path, I think again, because of things I mentioned earlier in terms of independence of thought, it helps you in terms of grow as a professional. And it's a very merit-driven industry, right? So if somebody is able to do well, you actually grow through the ranks very, very fast. Depending on the spectrum where you lie, right? So this industry is broadly divided into venture capital, private equity, which is growth capital, minority, and then buyout funds, where funds take majority stakes in the business. Depending on which spectrum you are in, the career progression is slightly different. Because when you are managing majority in the business, you've seen typically very mature professionals being there, while in venture capital, we have seen very young professionals also grow through the ranks just because of the nature of the business. So that is more the hierarchy of how it is operating. But I would say that very merit-driven industry, and your path is as fast as you can charter it out to be, as much as you would put an effort in terms of learning out. Every organization will have their hierarchy, even in the spectrum which I talked about. But look, as long as you keep adding value, you will rise through the ranks in terms of actually getting to decision-making positions, is all I can assure you. I will take a pause here and we can get into question answer. Was I audible to everyone? Okay. I'll wait for questions to come in then.
Hi, Anshul. Hi, Debrati.
Hi.
I have a question. Can I go ahead and ask?
Yeah, you can ask, but I would urge everybody to put the questions in the chat box if that's helpful.
Okay.
Then I can, because then I can club the questions and then ask together the similar type of questions. Yes.
Sure, we'll do that.
Anshul, if I can ask a question.
Yes, Nupur.
So, I've heard this from other firms as being a question that has come to them from younger women as to, what is the predictability / visibility / longevity of women in this industry. For example, if you go into consulting, in 10 years, you'll make partner if you do XYZ things. And how does it work in this industry?
Right. So like I said, it is very, very dependent on you in terms of how one moves forward, right? So if I can take an example here, Nupur, right? You know Lighthouse very well. For everyone's benefit, like I mentioned, Rochelle, me and Tarun, we have joined professionally and grown through the ranks. Rochelle actually joined as an associate 10 years ago, and she has become a managing director. She has an equal voice in terms of the investment decisions that we take, right? So that is the best example in terms of saying that if you are doing well, we have seen in 10 years women getting in decision making position. Now of course we want to this to happen more often in the industry, and we would want more representation. But look, you know, if there is a certain if there is merit and if there is value add that you continue to do, there is no stopping of women becoming at the leadership, getting to the leadership position in 10 years.
Thank you. And I think now we have enough questions in the chat for me to move out of this conversation.
Yes, finally. So we can, I'll go ahead and ask. And so one of the questions that we have is, as a fresher in an MBA college, how do you get an interesting internship in PEVC firms?
So Debrati, if you can quickly keep guiding also, if this is for Poonam or me, then we can accordingly keep answering.
So I think it's open. So if both of you can give your perspectives, it might be helpful, because I think that's one question that people, have asked repeatedly. So yeah.
Okay, so I can start, and Poonam, please chip in. Look, I think, a few years ago, there were no platforms like a Winpe who is helping in terms of bridging the gap of women who want to come in and join the talent force in private equity industry. But today we have that as a platform. The other thing I would say is it is also upon you all to, in terms of just taking that initiative and reaching out to people through your networks to see if you can join the PEVC industry. So I think those are the two things which I would recommend. When I say reaching out to the networks, it is more doing the background work in terms of who are the organizations, talking to the people as much as you can, and seeing where you can reach out. So that is one part, but of course it's not easy. I completely get that. And I think, like I mentioned, platform like Winpe is being super helpful in today's day and age.
Thank you, Anshul. As you rightly mentioned, Winpe is really bridging that gap when it comes to opportunities. CDPQ India, if I talk about, hires 2 interns in a year, and we advertise those on our LinkedIn page of the organization. I also post it from my email, and whenever there's an opportunity, we request Winpe to also post that from their platform, their web page. So for you all to get access to those opportunities, the first step is to connect with us on LinkedIn. So when you will have connection, you will be prompted on alerts whenever there's an opportunity. Similarly, organizations like us, because I see a lot of HR HR in different funds doing that, they do post opportunities. So you need to have that eye on LinkedIn when the opportunities are there, because they're just the team sizes are small, so the need of an intern, having an intern is also not that you're keeping 10 interns in a year, or it's just 2, 3, or 4 max. So you have to have that thing. You connected with us, can ask us when is it coming next. So these are just simple, quick tips I'm giving you to get access to the internship opportunities. Yeah, that's about it.
Great. Thank you so much, Anshul and Poonam. So on to the next question now. This is for Anshul. What are the average number of investments that Lighthouse does in a year? What is the level of involvement of analyst and associate in these deals?
Okay, so we do about 3 to 4 investments in a year. In our 15-year history, we've done about 30 investments. So to that extent, analysts and associates are actually backbones. We have a small team, right? We are less than 20 members, including all the functions. So to answer your question on the role of analyst associate, they get involved in significant part of the deal. So in deals, it involves going out to the market, talking to the customers. It involves going and meeting the management team many times to actually get the comfort that this is the team you are wanting to back. And as we or whoever is the deal lead going in and meeting, you will be accompanying every time. So that happens. And then as we get into due diligence, it is a lot more detailed, right? Plant visits and vendor visits. And it's a very, very detailed process that we follow. That is on the deal part. And then there is significant involvement from portfolio perspective also that we are actively managing. So again, every month there are board conversations in terms of performance, the conversations in terms of what next. So there is a lot of blue sky thinking with them, where analyst and associate become an important part. And we make sure that there is enough training and learning opportunities that is being provided at the analyst associate level, so that once professional growth is happening at every point in time in all of these aspects.
Great, thank you so much. So again, one more question for Anshul. What is the CAGR of Lighthouse Investments?
CAGR of
CAGR.
Lighthouse Investments. Look, our businesses grow anywhere between 20 to, in NICA, we have seen a 60% CAGR also. So 20 to 60% is the range, I would say. But that is not the most important criteria. We, of course, look at growth. 20% is absolute minimum. It's important. But after that, there is everything else that matters as well. What is that growth coming at? There is a certain cost to the growth. So if it's a loss-making business and still growing at 100%, not a business for us.
Got it. Great. So I think there's one question now for both Anshul and Poonam. I think the person, Vasudha, just wants to understand in detail that as a professional just starting their careers in finance, could you please focus a little more on what are the aspects of learning we should be focusing on in the beginning, and what are the skill sets that help you grow in the investing industry?
So I would say that, look, take as much initiative as you can. I will give examples of that, right? So in the beginning, when you join the organization at the lowest rank in terms of whether it's an analyst or an associate, there you will be given a lot of simple things to work upon as well. And then there are complex things involved in the deal, right? So let me pick up simple things. So it's as simple as saying, okay, tell me the financials of this business, right? So you can simply download it. There are a lot of databases. When you are taking that out and giving it to your partner or senior you are working with on the deal, don't just take that piece of paper or the Excel sheet and give it to them. Say what you have read in that, right? So is the sales coming, like I said, at a certain cost? Is the balance sheet very stretched? Given the educational backgrounds one would come through, these are some of the basic things. That is, let's say, on the financial aspect. Then the second aspect could be you went to the market for a certain product. Let's say if we are looking at an apparel company. So what are the deep insights you are getting? Not only in terms of saying, this is the company I looked at. What is competition? What was the environment? Did you check both offline and online? So just saying if there is something specific given to you, what is the insight you are bringing out? It's not about data, it's always about insight. So that is one thing which I would encourage all the youngsters to actually take upon themselves and add your flavor to it, because everybody is very intelligent, but use it and bring it to the table. So ultimately boils down to that in terms of saying, what is the initiative you are taking in the smallest work that you are being given. Don't think of this as saying it's a no value add work. Then as you grow, of course, ask for responsibilities, have an open communication. That becomes a very, very strong foundation as you are developing trust in terms of stakeholders internally and externally. So be open in terms of your communication, be honest. People can look through, right? So never try and hide things. If there are mistakes, please own it up. Try and correct it next time. Very basic professional work ethic, I think, takes you very long way. That is the second advice I would give. And then third is, of course, as you are in the organization, there are times when organization demands more of you, and then there are times when organization support you. Go through right through that cycle. Be in it for long term. Ask for help personally and professionally. So at home, at office, don't think of career as an option, right? That is something which I tell women in particular. As you are growing through the ranks, there is lot more responsibilities that come at home also, but don't give up. It goes a long way in terms of saying my career is equally important.
Yeah. So I want to add, thanks, Anshu. That was really what I feel when I hire women at the entry level, like as an analyst. You need to, as Anshu said, get that add value to what you're doing. If you'll present a simple data by downloading it and putting it on a slide or on a document, you have to bring that value. What is your view about it? And then when you learn from your seniors, you have to be very, very open, very, very receptive of the feedback, because we are very small organizations. You're not like really big where one is doing something, one is submitted, and the senior level will just see it as one of the submissions. It's coming from you. You're a important stakeholder in the organization. So you have to add value. It will be read through, you will get a feedback, you learn eventually. So be receptive is my advice to you. Get ready for the feedback, whether it is good or bad, learn from it. Then as you grow further, you have many things coming your way. So you're doing not just as I said, working on deals. Sometimes there is a down period. So what can you do at that time? You can pick up a sector that I want to work on this. Why don't we expand ourselves and think about that particular sector within this industry, within private equity or within infrastructure, within venture capital, and then present yourself. So you need to see those opportunities in your, when you're having a live deal, when you're really working long hours, you're working so much on a transaction, and when you have a down period, how you can give your best in those two cycles. It's very, very important that you tap each and every opportunity and bring best to the table, bring best of you. That's number two. Number three is that when you are an analyst and you move on as an associate and a senior associate, you have your the people who follow you up, people who are at entry level, and when you are an associate or senior associate, how you can help at that time create a bridge between the partner or a senior and the low entry level person, the analyst. This is also very important to see your role as somebody who's creating a culture, who's creating an environment of learning, who's creating a knowledge sharing platform. So you have multiple opportunities to tap in and work on those and present on those. You present yourself in the most effective way.
Great. Sorry, I was on mute. I did not realize. Okay. So the next question is, as a finance professional with 7-8 years experience with CA, CFA, and IB background, and now in real estate investing, should I look at growing in real estate investing only, or can explore other roles within investing as well?
So look, I will add my perspective here. Whether it is real estate or other segments of interest of investing, I think would really depend on your interest area. If you are enjoying what you are doing, I think the real estate investment is also exciting. And if you want to shift in terms of newer areas or newer segments of investing, please explore that. It's a very personal choice, because from an investment community, I think every firm will have some sort of focus or some sectors which they like. I think this is the right time also, because after you have had more than a decade of experience, becomes difficult then to make a switch? Because, everybody is hiring at the senior level to bring in that expertise, which you have built over a 10-year period.
Poonam, would you have any perspective on that?
So, when I hire, let's say, in infrastructure investment or in other countries in private equity, I would go for, somebody who has that kind of experience. But for 3 to 5 years, it is like really, it doesn't matter. Even for 7, 8 years, I would say. But don't wait for a few more years to just, find out what your actual interest is. So just that you need to be really focused on from the beginning where you want to head, because companies are getting selective and choosy about people from the same industry and getting the expertise, let's say from infrastructure, renewable power, or asset management to that sector. Private equity would be private equity. So you have to think about it. I would say as early as you can in your career. I'm giving you a HR perspective on how when we tap talent, what we have in our head. It's really the time you should think about it and switch if you want to, Anshu.
Right. Great. Thank you, Anshul. Thank you, Poonam. These were really interesting insights. Like before we move on from here with more Q&A, we would like to launch a feedback poll just to understand, your feedback on it on the session. So, Deepa, can we please launch it?
Yeah, I think you guys can view it.
Yeah, great. So, could I urge other participants to also fill in the survey? It would be really useful, guys. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll take more questions while the survey is being filled by the rest of the participants. And we can do that concurrently. Then the next question being asked is, and I think this is for both Anshul and Poonam, how would an internship opportunity be structured in terms of openings vis-a-vis a full-time opportunity?
So I can take this first. In terms of internship opportunities, typically we will offer 2 months sort of internships. Full time, again, in this industry, you can get 2 sorts of role. One is a track role, which means that you can join the organization and you work as a full-time employee. The other option which this industry provides is a 2-year pre-MBA program, which is there in most of the firms, right? Where if you have done CA or you have done engineering and you want to join this industry, get a flavor before you actually sign up for your MBA program, you can do that as well. Spend 2 years in the industry, and then after that, you get your recommendations also from the leadership in the firm. And you have a very strong experience with you in terms of the work that you have done. and then you go for your higher education, right? You can come back, join the industry, or join something else. So those are the two other opportunities which are available at the entry level.
Great, great. Poonam, would you like to answer that as well? Yeah.
So, at CDPQ, we do have internships for 6 months. It's not as a organizational policy which we do majorly in APAC, US and LATAM, Europe are 2-3 months. But in APAC, we stick to 6 months because it's not from our side as our guidelines are not just tick in the box, but we want to make it a impactful experience for our interns. They carry a lot in those 6 months, being an important part of the team, and that goes on with them, for years and years together. So those 6 months are really important, even from the intern side and from the organized side. We put a lot of effort and energy on developing our interns. So also, when the intern needs more time, we are flexible to even make it 8-9 months, because if he's going for an MBA, or if he has something else to to join for, or to look forward to, or starting to prepare for an MBA exam, so we help in giving more time so that he is in that environment of learning, etc., and alongside he or she is studying. So that's number one. Number two, transitioning into a full-time role. If we hire intern who's ready to take that up, so most of our interns are not MBAs, but as a qualification for analyst, we go for masters in finance. So we MBA in finance. So we kind of. We can't hire them because they don't have the right qualification. Because, as I said, we are very small organizations, and we have to have people who are, from whatever we have set, they should match that. So, but if they are MBAs and they are interning with us, let's say, in some circumstances, we have hired an MBA, then if something comes up, we both of us are fortunate to get the opportunity at the right time, then it can be transitioned into a full-time role. But
Sorry. Yeah.
interns are not, we don't move them into permanent roles.
Okay. Thank you. So I think we have many questions on skills, but because we have discussed them in a lot, depth, so we will not repeat them, and we'll move on to some other questions. So there's one question which states that I'm BTech, MBA Finance, completed my MBA in Finance in 2018, was working as freelance as finance expert since then. Want to return to investment and research industry now. Want to know how to grow in this, how to grab opportunities to move up.
Okay, so look, I can start here. This one, I would say, talk to consultants, explain in terms of what work ex you have, what sort of opportunities you are looking at. So reach out to understand, where the market is and what are the skill sets people are looking at, and then they can match your skill set with the organizations and help you sort of identify the right organization. That is one. Second is, given that you are freelancing in finance, you would know in terms of what are the areas, right? So when you are saying research firm, there are a variety of research firms. There are, firms that research more macro and from a debt rating perspective, then on research, which is on the equity side. So what is it that you want to get into? Do a little bit more background work to identify the organization. Or if you are getting into investments, then again, in investments also, there is equity, there is venture debt, there is venture equity, and there is buyout, and there is public market investing. And there also there are strategies people are following. So look, where do you want to be, given that you have 4-5 years of experience? If there is some sort of preference that you have, then go and identify in terms of what are the various top organization in each of these buckets, and see if you can find a way in terms of getting connect to them. Poonam mentioned about LinkedIn earlier. These days, world has become easy in terms of connections through LinkedIn. Also, try and see if you can directly reach out to the leaders in some of those organizations. And then, of course, I would strongly urge all of you to see if, through Winpe career programs, you can find something which is of mutual interest, because again, I think those are fabulous.
Great, great. Poonam, do you have any additional?
Yes. So I would suggest that find out where you want to go first, and as Anshul also mentioned, look for the right organizations and the people who you can connect with the leaders on LinkedIn. Our leaders also get a lot of requests. I also get. So we have a database of people who want to, who have done exceptionally well in what they've been doing, and now they want to even join with 3-4 years of experience, even join at a entry level at CDPQ. So we're open to those people because and because they're women. That's number one, and number two is they're very eager to get into a new industry with whatever strong educational background and experience. So I'm sure when we are open, then others also would might be open to have those people joining them. So look for opportunities, connect with people, build your own network, talk to consultants, talk to Winpe, talk to Nupur. She will guide you. I think that's what I would like to say also, as Anshul said.
Great. So there's this question, which is, so day with an investor, what does this position and role mean?
Debrati, maybe you want to elaborate on that, given you all are curating it.
Yeah, Nupur, would you want to answer that?
I can do that. So day with an investor could actually also mean a couple of hours with an investor. But the concept here is that selected candidates get to spend time with an investor, either in the form of a couple of hours or the full day, and spend time with the partners at the firm in understanding what their day looks like, what their business looks like. Some of them also make presentations. Some of them also bring in the whole team to give a full perspective of what the whole team works together on. And some of them consider letting the person sort of shadow one senior person for the whole day. So different firms do it differently, but the concept here is that in a day's time, in a couple of hours time, you get a peek into what an investor does on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, thank you, Nupur. So the next question is, do senior positions in the industry typically favor candidates with experience in product management or engineering roles, where individuals with specific hard skills may have an advantage in assessing business opportunities?
Sorry, I didn't get the question. When you say senior, yeah.
So in essence, the question is asking whether for senior positions, a person with a background in project management or engineering roles would be preferred, where they might have gained hard skills in assessing business opportunities.
Yeah, so here I can bring in the part which I mentioned in my presentation on the operating partners we have. If you all remember, I mentioned about people we work with who come from Unilever, Nike, P&G background, right? So what do they do exactly? They help our companies think through strategies, having run the businesses themselves, right? So they bring in 20, 30 years of experience on sales, distribution, marketing, branding, managing the team, thinking about the strategy, all of that. So here, when somebody comes from project management experience and let's say you get into infra investing, for example, right? So there, I think the skill is directly relevant because every investment team needs some sort of help. They either have it full-time or they have it part-time in terms of helping their companies on the business side also. Right. So there, I think the specific question on the project management comes into play. Every fund will have different requirement depending on the sector they are in. So yes, hard skills are very important. It's appreciated. And it's something which is very prevalent in investing industry, I would say.
Great. Yeah.
So we have our portfolio companies, we have our platforms, infra platforms, where and we need people for asset management. And those companies run as proper entities, wherein people from logistics to, admin, HR, marketing, project management, asset management, all are needed, at different levels. So even the technical partners who would take care of the asset as on behalf of the that entity is needed. So for our portfolio companies and for our platforms, yes, those people are needed, as rightly covered by Anshul also.
Right. So there are a few similar questions, and I'm gonna club them up in interest of time. So the questions respectively for CDPQ and Lighthouse is what are the skill sets that you look for while hiring analyst and associate roles? Is MBA a prerequisite for a VC role? And the final is at an analyst level and an entry level, CAs with work experience up to 2 years are preferred. So how do you approach this opportunity? So these are 3 questions about hiring. So I've clubbed it into one. I'm happy to break it down if after a point, just repeat the questions. Yeah. So
Okay.
Anshul, would you like to go first or Poonam? Yeah, anybody can take.
Sure. So look, in terms of skills that is needed when we are hiring, it varies at every level. At analyst level, you would need the skill in terms of hard skills to understand, of course, understanding or basic understanding of finance is very, very important for us. So to that extent, we do test candidates in terms of those hard skills on basic understanding of finance being there. We check in terms of every organization has a certain culture, so those are soft skills that you test for in terms of just ability to adapt, how hungry they are to learn. We test in terms of the thought process, right? So if there are certain creative situations given to them, how are they approaching that specific problem? It is mostly hypothetical given very less experience they have, but it's just more the mind, sort of process which we look at, how they are approaching it. I think those are the skills that are looked at the entry level. And as you keep going up, what becomes important is what you have done so far, what is the value add you did to that role as well as the organization. And then, of course, what would your colleagues, seniors, mentors would say about you in terms of the feedback, right? So that covers a lot of it, but that's more relevant for the senior hirings.
Great. That was insightful, Anshul. Poonam, do you want to add something?
Yeah. So, when we hire entry level, we obviously, like all the funds, they look for some technical aspect that you all bring in to handle a deal. It's not just the basic things, but a lot in terms of the modeling test. And we have a big modeling test that we give to our candidates, and then there is a debrief, and to check the soft skills, we have developed an interview process that you all interact with our team members. So we see, how one fits into the team in terms of, their approach towards working as a team, contributing, collaborating, communicating, and so on and so forth. So we check that through our soft interviews with our analysts and associates. And then after the debrief, we have a lot of 3-4 rounds with our leaders, like even the head of the asset class who sits in Montreal interviews the candidates, and a person in Singapore who's the co-head also takes the interview. So all in all, we have 8-9 rounds of interview for this for a entry level position, checking the technical, behavioral, and the educational background, your expertise through what you've gained through your internships and through your programs that you've done before getting into that, applying for that job. So all that is assessed, and then you get through. It's not tough. It's sounding as if it is something. It's like a normal interview, but the structure is like that so that you're assessed in every way, because again, the team sizes are very small. Each and every position is important for us to bring in the right talent, and also give the opportunities to our to people who apply as something where we set expectation in terms of how it's going to be. It is niche, and it is where you really develop interest. You know who you're working with. You also know what's going to come up. How are your colleagues or teams going to look like? It's not just you're arriving on day one and you don't know who you're gonna work with, as traditionally it used to happen. So it's very open and transparent, and teams talking to the candidate about what's going on, like not the confidential stuff, but the ongoing stuff, and gauging the interest of the candidate also. So that's for entry level. And for as you move forward, obviously it's the expertise that you bring in from how many deals, what work have you done, and what your interest is. Are you really interested in moving in this direction, and so on and so forth. Thank you.
Great. So the next question is, what is the difference between a track versus contract role?
So a contract role is basically when you are for an agreed period in the organization. It could be a 1-year track or a 2-year track. Usually some people, some people do offer an extension for an year. So max you get is about 3 years, but usually it is 2-year time frame, which I have heard in the industry. So, you are there for an agreed period and then you move out as the period gets over. Track role is basically you are a full-time employee of the organization and you will continue to do the work, as long as there is no expiry date to it, so to say.
Fair. Thanks, Anshul. Poonam, is there any other pointer that you may want to add to this?
No, I
Okay.
think Anshul covered it. Yeah.
Great. Okay. So with this, okay, there's one more question. I'm sorry. Given the quantum of opportunities that comes the way of a PEVC fund every year, how do you filter through them to the final few opportunities that the fund invests into, and what parameters are taken into account while evaluating each of these investment?
Right. So look, because each fund's mandate and focus is different, every fund has a different criteria. I will talk about Lighthouse here. We have a certain way of looking at, what the business is, what the brand is, or what the company is in terms of what is it that is getting talked in the market. So market research becomes very important for us. So for example, when we invested in Nykaa, we could see everyone around us, using the platform to actually do the shopping. We kept track for it in terms of, are you happy with the experience as a consumer or not? So we talk to consumers around us. The other thing is, as you are going for your grocery shopping or any other departmental store, you are looking at what are the products which is getting maximum attention, going off the shelf, so we talk to the stores like that. So that is one important criteria as to there is a positive traction with your consumer base. The second thing is there are certain way of looking at financials for us, right? So operating matrix distilled through market research and, some of the other, as we have outlined internally, and then financial matrix as is available on MCA is very easy in India to at least see historically what his company delivered to their shareholders. I mean, if it's a private company, then of course, how has the performance been, how efficient they have been. The third thing is in terms of going into a lot more detail. So one is, of course, the initial sense of the market, but going into a lot more detail. So if a product is selling in Patna and, Jharkhand and Assam, we will actually go there and ask the retailers for the feedback. Do they get payments on time? Is there enough repeat demand? Is there enough products they are able to supply? What do they think of the quality? So there is a lot of that channel conversation that happens. And look, if a product is short in supply, we know there is humongous demand, right? So those are some of the back of mind metrics we use as well. Now comes the part in terms of management, which is a very important aspect for us. The company may be doing very good job, but if you can't get along with the management team, or you think the thought process is not very progressive, so while they have had a good run so far, you are in it for future, and you have to be able to visualize that future along with the management team, right? So the thought process of management, the interworkings, again, I come back to the point which I mentioned in terms of we having backed many family-owned businesses, right? So in family-owned businesses, there are clash which could happen potentially in terms of thought process of taking organization ahead. Are we comfortable with that? Does it truly make sense in that sense, given the conflict which the family members may have amongst themselves? So those are the qualitative parameters that we put around. And the third is getting a lot of feedback from the ecosystem, be it vendors, distributors, be it competition. What are they talking about you is very, very important, right? So, put all these things together, and a future which is looking promising enough from the growth trajectory that we would want. And all top of all this, it has to be a right valuation where you are entering, because ultimately you make money when you are entering at the right valuation. So, that becomes very important criteria that we look at. So those are some of the parameters we use at Lighthouse.
Great. Thank you, Anshul. And I think the last question here is again directed to Anshul, and we'll take that. So Anshika says that she would love to know your detailed journey from an IB associate to MD for Lighthouse.
Okay, so I think, the journey actually began much before for me. I grew up in Patna, and Patna used to be a very small town when I was growing up. So there was not so much of career opportunities available, or even, support available. There were few institutes who could guide you in terms of how to think about your future. But of course, even that point in time, I did not know these words in terms of, taking initiatives and being proactive about it. But I always thought about that I have to be a working professional. And just took baby steps in terms of saying, at that time I said my education is important, because that is all I knew, and I enrolled for an MBA program. I went to IIM Indore. That gave me a lot of exposure about corporate world. I went there as a fresher, right? So but there was enough foundation being laid in terms of saying, how to approach my journey in the corporate world. After that, joined in terms of investment banking, because finance was something which I found in terms of my calling in the second year. There and then, I would say it has been all about asking for things that I feel are important as I move in the career. So whatever was given to me, I used to be the most hardworking person. It is not so much about, saying, you come the first and you leave the last, but just putting in terms of hard work, and saying that, adding that additional flavor for whoever has given me the work, right? It could be the mid-level VP whom I was working with, or the head of investment banking I was working with. I took every opportunity to do a good work more because I wanted to learn, right? So that hunger and curiosity was something which I feel has actually helped me come a long way. I would always advise young professionals to keep that alive, right? It's most important. After that, it has been a lot of mentorship and help that I asked for, I sought for in the organizations that I was in, right? So if I had difficulty in something, I would go speak to my bosses, and more often than not, I have found everyone is super helpful if you are asking and saying, look, I don't know this, can you help me get to, I want to learn. People are super helpful, they will take out time. But if you're being arrogant about it, saying, look, I know everything and I will do the work my way, and this is what is correct, then you are not approaching it the right way, right? So be humble in terms of saying there are things you would know, there are things you would not know. It's a journey that will continue even today. But be open with people. I have found honest communication to be always helpful, whether I was an associate or whether I deal with entrepreneurs today. So that is the other thing that I have found helpful to be. And at every point in time, I have seen what is next I want to do, right? So when I was doing investment banking, I was more into cross-border M&A to begin with, right? I used to be with ABN AMRO. So there was a lot of interesting work, but then what next? So when I was doing execution, what next for me was saying, my seniors do a lot of coverage, which means that they go generate business for the firm. They get money for firm as an investment banker. Fees is very important. So, can I get to that role where I am going and asking for business and client is giving business because of my what I am presenting and the knowledge I am able to share. So that was the next role. And I kept an eye in terms of saying, what is it that I would need for the next role, right? So you start to build skills a little early on, think about the next role in your career. And then after that, of course, private equity became very interesting. And internally, again, when I joined Lighthouse, I joined as in principal and then went to an MD level. There, again, the focus was, what is the difference I am making to the organization? Always think about that. People have a lot of objectives in terms of saying, what am I getting here? And, can I get 5 lakhs more there, etc. I think, yes, it's important. I am not taking away the importance of that. But as you put career at the center, money comes about. That should not be the main objective. At the early stages, I have seen a lot of people think about that as well. Focus on learning, everything else comes about. But always seek opportunities, seek mentorship opportunities. When you are seeing senior leaders, men or women, if you are able to learn from them and they are open, see if you can approach them. And more often than not, people are helpful, right? Those would be, I think, takeaways from my journey.
Great. Poonam, you have raised your hand. You wanted to share something? Okay.
Poonam, you are on mute.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was sending a reaction to Anshul applaud, but I think it was coming as
A raised hand. No.
So
Fine.
very inspiring, Anshul, really.
Yeah.
All my compliments and best wishes.
Thank you, Poonam.
Yeah, Anshul, really, really very awe-inspiring, so to say. And thank you. Thank you so much, Poonam, for taking our time for this. So with this, we come to a close to the Q&A session. And I generally would like to just, thank you for participating in this Winpe Career Day. I hope you gained valuable insights into the world of PEVC. As just to sum up some of the points, connect with professionals, seek mentorship, and pursue internships or education programs to develop your skills further. Our sincere gratitude goes to the presenters today and attendees for making this event a success. Stay engaged with Winpe. Applications for job openings open at 2 p.m. and will be open for 7 days. Check it out on our website and don't miss out. So best wishes to everyone for your future endeavors, and may you find fulfillment, success, and the ability to make a difference. Thank you for being a part of this today. Thank you so much. Nupur,
Please
add something?
note that applications for all our vacancies will open at 2 p.m. India time today. They will stay open for 1 week. So you can go to the Winpe website. I think we'll be sharing the link on an email with everybody. We will also be posting the link on social media. But please feel free to apply for as many positions, as many opportunities as you would like. And we wish you all the best in your journeys.
Thank you, Nupur. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Nupur. Thank you, Devrati.
Thank you, Poonam. Thank you, Anshul.
Thank you. Take care, guys.
I did
All the
not
best.
know this story, Anshul. You're inspiring everyone.
Thank you, Nupur. Nice to hear
Thank
from
you.
you. Thank you.
No, seriously, amazing. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Nupur. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you.